Hola mi gente, ¿cómo están? Aquí me llamo Alba Mar, me pueden decir Alba. El canal se llama Seriela, estamos aquí para hablar de libros y algunos de ellos en español desde Puerto Rico. Hello, how you doing? My name is Alba Mar, you may call me Alba, and the channel name is Seriela. And we're here to talk about books and some of them in Spanish from Puerto Rico. I'm here to do a book tag. I was tagged, I think, a couple of months ago by Kazen Always Doing. The original tag is by Shawn, the book Maniac, and I will put the links down below. If you haven't seen those channels, you're missing out. This is about twos. It's called a 2 books with 1 stone tag. Okay, and everything here is done in twos. So let's start off. Number 1. The second to the last book that you read. I had done this, I had prepared this a long time ago, but since then I've read some more books. So the second to the last book that I read was Persuasion by Jane Austen, which I did as a buddy read. I talked about this in my last video. And then the second book from the top of my TBR, right now the number 1 is Truman in Puerto Rico, and this is another one from Puerto Rico, and that is The Unsolved Case of Dr. Cornelius P. Rhodes, an indictment written by Pedro Aponte Vázquez. Yeah, that's the next one, the second to the second book on my TBR. 2 2-star reads, and very quickly, that is American Gunfight. I talked about this before, maybe not this year, maybe last year, but since I've been on BookTube such a short time, it's within the year. And then the other one was Indigo by Beverly Jenkins. I was expecting more history, more like a historical fiction instead of, and a little less romance. Yeah, but those were my expectations. Other people might like the book. That was just me. Number 4, 2 great books by the same author, and that would be Saramago. I just talked about Death with Interruptions. In Spanish it's called Las Intermitencias de la Muerte. And I had read this one, which is called Blindness, in Spanish more than a year ago, about 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I read it in Spanish, but I got it in English, and I will be reading that very soon, because I've fallen in love with Saramago. Okay, and the next question, number 5, is 2 bails. Now, the bails that I have had recently is not because I didn't enjoy the books. I'm going to explain. I had to bail Light in August because I could only borrow it in audiobook from Overdrive, and I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand it at all. And the format of the audiobook said that it had like over 100 episodes. I don't know how they divided it. So I think that it would be best for me to read Light in August in physical form. Then Romantic Outlaws, also borrowed on Overdrive. I talked about this in my last video. Had a very confusing structure for me. The chapters alternated between the mother and the daughter. And I'll try reading it again, but skipping the chapters and grouping each one apart, if that makes any sense. Next question. The 2 favorite reads so far this year At the beginning of the year, Luz Bella, I'm very consistent. Luz Bella. El Resplandor de Luz Bella by Juan López Bauzá, which is a speculative fiction book about an alternate Puerto Rico. Yeah, so wonderful, full of hope, wonderful book. And the other one is The Natural Way of Things, despite what Shawn said about it and other people. I really enjoyed The Natural Way of Things by Charlotte Wood, and I even got it. It has come in a book haul, but since I put much of my books away in boxes, thinking that we're going to paint soon, whenever that is, I couldn't find it, but I do have it, and I got it, and I will be rereading it again soon. Yeah. The Natural Way of Things by Charlotte Wood. My new favorite booktubers, well, one of them is Alan Morton. And if you haven't watched Alan Morton, I suggest that you do. He is a very knowledgeable and conscientious in his discipline on BookTube. Yeah, I admire him very much. And another one that I've been following for a while, but that his name is Alfredo. The channel name is called Libropolis. He's from Costa Rica, and he just started to celebrate Costa Rican independence by opening up his channel to visitors, to other booktubers from Costa Rica. And I've already seen 3 visitors on his channel celebrating Costa Rican independence and books by Costa Rican authors. So that's very interesting. I will link his channel down below. It's all in Spanish, but he's an English teacher, and he follows Edgar Allan Poe a lot. So that's Libropolis, Alfredo at Libropolis. Number 8, a book you've read twice. I've talked about this one before. Manny Suarez, 2 Lynchings on Cerro Maravilla. And in a recent video I said rest in peace. Manny Suarez is still very much alive. Excuse me, Albamar. Yeah, he's very much alive. He's not in good health, but he is the equivalent of the reporters that reported on Watergate, because the scandal involving the 2 lynchings on Cerro Maravilla is the equivalent of our Watergate, as said by Samuel Dash, who was involved in Watergate. He's the one who calls it the equivalent of Watergate in Puerto Rico. So I've read this twice, and those first pages always make me cry. And number 9, 2 fabulous quotes from books that you've read recently. Sister Outsider. Sister Outsider, the part where she talks about poetry is not a luxury. She says, for women, poetry is not a luxury. It is a vital necessity of our existence. And I just recommend that you read the whole essay on poetry is not a luxury. Take it from me, I'm not a poetry person, but it has whet my appetite for poetry for sure, the way she talks about poetry. And then the other one, the other quote, is from Behrouz Booshani, A Letter from Manus Island. And in this manifesto from one of the participants, I don't know if you can call it participant, one of the people housed in a refugee camp they led a revolt in the refugee camp. Yeah. And he says, our resistance is a new manifesto for humanity and love. And when you read this very brief letter from Manus Island, where the refugee camp is located, you'll understand why he calls resistance a manifestation of humanity and of love. The things that happen there, yep. So, number 10, tag a number of booktubers, and that number has to be divisible by 2. My eyes are red from exhaustion, from looking up all the booktubers who have or have not done this tag, or have not been tagged, right? And so I'm going to tag Karen from Runwright Reads. I'm going to tag Justin from Ghost Reader. And I'm also going to tag the 4 hosts of Latinx-a-thon, which is going to be later on this month. So yeah, I'm going to tag, besides Karen and besides Justin, I'm tagging Andrea at bookramble, Priscilla at Bookie Charm, Jocelyn at Yogi with a Book, and Yvette at BookCave. Okay? Thank you so much, cousin, for tagging me in this tag. And thank you, Shawn, the book maniac, for thinking of it. So, cuídense mucho, mi gente. Keep everyone in the Bahamas and Florida in the path of this monstrous hurricane in your thoughts, please. And let's start activating ourselves and preparing to help them out. Okay? It depends on us. Bye. Adios.